We've got a deal, right? Isn't that what we hear? We've got a deal or a plan for a deal, a framework of a deal. Where do we stand on this big deal? I'm a little confused. You know, Joe Biden was traveling today, going to Glasgow. We've been looking forward. Joe's been looking forward to the big international stage. He was looking forward to having a deal to sort of, catapult him. And do you think he prematurely has sort of announced he's got a deal and maybe doesn't have a deal?
There's only one way to find out. We'll see how it plays out. Time will tell. Figure it all out. I'm sure he's got a deal. Hey, listen, at least he's not stopping off at his golf course to go and spend some money there on his way to Glasgow. So at least we're winning that way, right?
Sure. Well, sure. The fact that he's not spending time on the golf course, yeah, that's a good thing. I think he occasionally attends, like a granddaughter's field hockey game. I'm not saying Joe can't have a day off, but he's working up, on behalf of the nation, I hope. But the deal, I want to hear more about the deal. Let's go to the deal. I don't mean to misrepresent, just what a deal maker Joe Biden is, because I've been hearing stalemate for weeks. Didn't even want to talk about this damn deal because there wasn't a deal. Not clear that there is one yet. Let's start with Biden. Let's go. Cut 25. Do we have a deal, Joe Biden? Cut 25.
I think we're going to be in good shape.
Very reassuring, President Biden. Good shape. Cut 26. We've got like all the final details. They've worked it out. They're just dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Right, Joe? Cut 26.
It's a framework that will create millions of jobs, grow the economy, invest in our nation and our people, turn the climate crisis into an opportunity and put us on a path not only to compete, but to win the economic competition for the 21st century against China and every other major country in the world.
Okay, haven't flushed out quite all the details. They'll get there. Just pass it, then we'll tell you what's in it. But who wins? I mean, who won in this negotiation? Certainly not the American people. Well, let's hear how Joe Biden describes it. Did we get what we wanted, Joe? Cut 27.
No one got everything they wanted, including me. But that's what compromise is. That's consensus. And that's what I ran on.
Okay. What a campaign message. You will not get what you want. You recall, talked about this more than once. I was at Donald Trump when he accepted the nomination. We were in the room in Cleveland. Dom and I were sort of up in the rafters, and the balloons are dropping. And I swear to God, if memory serves, they played. You can't always get what you want. Like that was Donald Trump was like saying, "Eat it, have your Trump sandwich. You can't always get what you want." Apparently, the current president shares that sentiment when it comes to this big deal. But do they have a deal? Cut 28.
I'm pleased to announce that after months of tough and thoughtful negotiations, I know we have a historic economic framework.
So again, they're close to a deal. Joe's announcing, that they're like deal adjacent. I'd like to sell this for you, Joe. I've been trying to sell the Build Back Better plan. I think it's a big deal. I think it should be a bigger deal. I understand the nature of compromise and all that kind of stuff. I just wish you had something a little more, let's just say, solid to announce. How about the investment? Cut 29, President Joe Biden.
This framework includes historic investments in our nation and in our people. Any single element of this framework would fundamentally be viewed as a fundamental change in America. Taken together, they're truly consequential.
Okay, let's keep going down the list. Cut number 30, President Joe Biden.
These are not about left versus right or moderate versus progressive or anything else that pits Americans against one another. This is about competitiveness versus complacency.
I would tend to disagree, President Biden. Here's my math. First, you got to triangulate against the Republicans because you don't have a single Republican that supports the broader bill. And no one expected them to. I mean, I'm glad you got a little bipartisan support on the smaller investment, roads and bridges and the such. But you didn't get any Republican buy-in. Mitch McConnell, didn't they specifically whip against you, force you to reconciliation? You got to do this. And you got to raise the debt ceiling to do this. Okay, so now this is all on Democrats, right? And then you have literally pitted the progressives, the Bernie Sanders, the squad, if you will, the Jayapals and such, against the moderates, if you want to call Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. I prefer the term corporatists. But anyways, back to the president. Wonder what he has to say. Couple more. Climate crisis, so we've got the watered down version of a solution, a greenish New Deal, cut 31.
This framework also makes the most significant investment to deal with the climate crisis ever happened, beyond any other advanced nation in the world. Over 1 billion metric tons of emission reductions, at least 10 times bigger on climate than any bill that has ever passed before, and enough to position us for a 50 to 52% emission reductions by the year 2030.
Wow, those are stirring words, aren't they? Don't they just grab you by the gut and make you want to go out there and do something?
I don't know. Whenever I think of compromise and infrastructure, I just assume they're going to build like half of a bridge and then call it a day.
Well, just get a good head of speed going like the Duke boys.
Yeah, just we built two halves like going at each other and just kind of stopped and just said, well, you fill in the rest. Use your private helicopter. What, you don't have a private helicopter? Well, I guess you don't get to the other side.
Bake sales. I'm sorry. I wish this was something, I realize the president's trying to get out of town on a good note. I'm having a hard time being supportive. Let's hear about some of the good stuff, though. There is some good stuff in here. Cut 32, please. What about the EV charging stations? Darcy Haber, for you.
We'll build out the first ever national network of 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations all across the country.
Well, and that way Darcy can, go out of walking or electric distance of her home.
That'll be fine, but we're going to have some sort of legislation that maybe regulates the type of interface that is, because I don't know if you know this, but if you go over to Europe, they have different types of plugs. Imagine if, let's say in 5 years, once this all gets built,
you're going to drive it to Europe, Bri.
No, but my point is what I'm not talking about the European versus ours. My point is what happens in 5 years when the biggest manufacturer has a different plugging system that they change to and all that type of thing. You're going to have to go and
come on, baby. That's innovation. I'm going to leave that to the big automakers.
All right.
Not including Foxconn here in the state of Wisconsin.
Just a lot of specifics I'm very worried about.
Thank you. I appreciate your concern. I'm worried that they don't really have any sort of deal here. And at the next whim of Joe Manchin or Kirsten Sinema, this all comes tumbling down like a Jenga. See a little bit more. Corporate tax. How are you paying for any of this, Joe? You're not going to tax the billionaires. Can we tax some freaking corporations for the love of God? Cut 33, please.
The Build Back Better framework will have a 15% minimum on the largest corporations, a minimum tax of 15%. The top 1% of the wealthiest Americans evade, it's estimated by the experts, $160 billion a year in federal taxes. That's wrong. We're going to change that.
We could literally solve, sort of a watered down version of all the infrastructure ails of the entire United States of America if we simply collect the uncollected taxes of American tax cheats. We don't even have to have a billionaire tax. Is that what you're telling us, Joe Biden? If we just maybe put some enforcement teeth behind the IRS, hell, let's revoke the nonprofit status of churches and just watch the coffer swell with cash. We'll all be socialists then.